A golden October afternoon in 2016 on Stanford's iconic palm-lined quad. The air thick with the scent of eucalyptus and fresh-cut grass. Laughter and camera flashes bursting everywhere as families swarm their graduates in a chaotic celebration of triumph. I'm standing there alone. Ava Chen, 22 years old, clutching my diploma in computer science and electrical engineering like it's the only solid thing in the world. My black gown flutters in the breeze, tassel swinging against my cheek, and I scan the crowds one last time, heart pounding with that fragile, foolish hope that maybe, just maybe, they'd surprised me. But the sea of proud parents, siblings, grandparents parts and closes without a single familiar face. No mom waving frantically from the bleachers. No dad holding a homemade sign. No Ethan clapping with that cocky grin he wears when he remembers I exist there an hour away in San Francisco at Ethan's make-or-break investor meeting. For his second failing startup, my phone buzzes once a group text, "So sorry we couldn't make it. Sweetie, Ethan's pitch is huge today. Dinner? When you're home? Proud of you." That single message, sent while I stood utterly alone amid thousands, crystallized 2 decades of being the invisible child, the quiet achiever who didn't need hand-holding. What they never knew, what no one knew, was that the hurt from that day quietly seeded something unbreakable inside me. A secret, irrevocable trust that would one day hold millions, dedicated not to family blood, but to the forgotten kids like me. And when my company sold for $250 million nearly a decade later, forcing them to beg for a bailout, revealing that trust would shatter every illusion we'd lived under, and finally set me free. To really feel this story, you have to understand where it truly began. Not in Silicon Valley glamour, but in the raw struggle of my parents' early years, the kind of immigrant grit that gets romanticized, but rarely lived without scars. My mom, Linda Mei-Ling Chen, Newu, grew up in a noisy 3-room apartment in Taipei's Yonghe district, sharing a single bedroom with her 4 younger siblings. Her father drove a battered taxi 12 hours a day. Her mother took in alterations until her eyes failed from the strain. Food was rice with soy sauce on lean days, and dreams were whispered luxuries. Mom was the brilliant eldest, the one who aced every exam, won scholarships, and at 19 secured a student visa to the U.S. She landed in San Francisco in 1985 with $400 sewn into her coat lining, 1 suitcase, and a heart full of terror and determination. She waited tables at a bustling dim sum hall in Chinatown, practiced English by reading discarded newspapers on the bus, and cried herself to sleep missing the smell of night market stinky tofu. My dad, David Chen, came from simpler American roots, but no less hardship. Born in Fresno to a mechanic father and cafeteria worker mother, he spent childhood summers bent over peach orchards, fingers stained and back aching, earning $2 a crate to help keep the lights on. He was the first in his family to go to college, UC Davis on Pell Grants loans and night shifts at a gas station. He graduated into the semiconductor boom of the late 80s, landing at a chip fab where the clean rooms smelled of chemicals and possibility. They met in 1989 at a Taiwanese student picnic in Golden Gate Park, Mom pouring tea for homesick undergrads, Dad offering to fix a broken portable radio someone had brought. He courted her with homemade sandwiches and long walks, talking about circuits and poetry. They married in a simple courthouse ceremony in 1991, honeymooned with a weekend in Yosemite because that's all they could afford. By 1996, with Dad's promotions and Mom's teaching credential, Finally earned, they scraped together a down payment on the 3-bedroom split level in Cupertino zip code 95014, Holy Grail of Silicon Valley Public Schools. That house became the altar of their ambition. Ethan David Chen arrived in July 1992, and from his first cry, he was anointed. Mom quit her part-time tutoring to be home full-time, convinced early stimulation was everything. Dad built him a mobile of circuit boards over the crib. By age 2, Ethan was stacking blocks into perfect towers. By 3, reciting the alphabet backward because it was more interesting. Every milestone was photographed, scrapbooked, bragged about at family gatherings. Relatives sent red envelopes marked, "For the future CEO." I arrived quietly in September 1994, a planned but still budget-stretching second child. I didn't wail dramatically. I observed Mom joked I was low maintenance from day one. Where Ethan demanded stories read aloud, I flipped pages myself at 18 months. Where he threw tantrums for new toys, I played for hours with cardboard boxes. Teachers called me mature beyond years. My parents called me easy, and easy children in a house stretched thin get less. The favoritism started small but compounded like interest. Ethan's preschool had a gifted track extra $200 a month. Mom took weekend tutoring gigs. I went to the free community playgroup. Ethan's elementary school offered after-hours coding club $150 per session. Dad worked overtime. I joined the free library reading program and earned stickers for books devoured. By 3rd grade, Ethan was invited to a prestigious summer math camp at Stanford, $3,000. They made it happen by canceling their planned anniversary trip to Lake Tahoe. I spent that summer at the local Park Day camp, $50 a week, bringing peanut butter sandwiches from home. I didn't resent Ethan. I loved him. He was my big brother, the one who let me tag along when he built Lego spaceships, who shared his comic books when I finished mine. But Elle learned early that love and investment weren't the same thing. Middle school widened the gap. Ethan tested into the ultra-competitive magnet program at a neighboring district-long commute. Extra fees, required laptop. Mom became the carpool chauffeur before her teaching day began. I walked to the neighborhood school, backpack heavy with borrowed textbooks. I found the robotics club-free after school and stayed until sunset soldering circuits with kids whose parents couldn't pick them up either. High school was the breaking point. Ethan transferred to Bellarmine Prep Level Private Academy in San Jose, $35,000 annual tuition by 2008. To afford it, they refinanced the house. Mom taught summer school every year. Dad deferred retirement contributions. Ethan got the full Valley Prep package, $300 per hour SAT tutors, admissions consultants charging $20,000 packages, mock interview sessions, even a stylist for his college visit wardrobe. His 16th birthday present, a gently used BMW 328, eye for safety on Highway 280 to internships. My 16th birthday, dinner at Chili's, and a $100 Target gift card. Poured everything into Cupertino High, one of the best publics in the nation, but still public. 7 AP classes. President of the robotics team. Varsity cross country. Weekend shifts at Quickly Boba Shop to buy my own graphing calculator. When I scored 1,590 on the SAT self-prepped on Khan Academy and library books, Mom hugged me and said, "See? You didn't need all that expensive help." Dad nodded proudly, then turned back to reviewing Ethan's Stanford early decision essays. Stanford accepted Ethan early in 2010. The celebration was legendary catered dim sum in the backyard, red lanterns, relatives flying in from Taiwan. Aunts pressed red envelopes into his hands thick enough to choke a horse. Applied regular decision everywhere, won a National Merit Scholarship, and got into Stanford too, with a partial merit award and need-based aid that still left a $30,000 annual gap. Their contribution, zero. They were, at that moment, wiring $100,000 to Ethan's dorm room startup idea that would become his first spectacular flameout. I moved into Wilbur Hall in 2012 with 2 duffels, a $400 used ThinkPad from Craigslist, and 3 jobs lined up: dining hall cashier, CS 101 tutor, and night shift library reshelver. Mom helped unpack for an afternoon, teared up, then left because Ethan had a critical demo that evening. Saw them twice that first year, once when they dropped off Ethan's forgotten winter clothes, once when he needed moral support after his first startup imploded. The pattern continued for 4 years. Woke at 5 a.m. to study before breakfast shift. Worked until 11 p.m. some nights. Ate cereal for dinner when swipes ran out. Cried in shower stalls when midterms crushed me. But I graduated summa cum laude, honors thesis published, 3 internship offers converted to full-time. They missed graduation for Ethan's do-or-die pitch. I walked the stage alone, smiled for the professional photographer, and took myself to dinner at a campus cafe. That night, in my empty childhood bedroom, Ethan's old trophies still lining the shelves, Elle opened a new bank account and met with an estate attorney I'd found through Stanford's legal clinic. At 22, I created an irrevocable trust. Initial deposit, $5,000 from graduation gifts and final paycheck. Terms, every future bonus, stock grant, or windfall I designated would flow in automatically. Principal locked forever. Sole purpose, full ride scholarships for first-generation, low-income California students pursuing STEM at public universities. I named it the Quiet Achiever Fund. No one knew. Not Mom, not Dad, not even my closest college friends. Through my 20s, I built. Started as an engineer, saved aggressively, lived in group houses, vacationed with $200 flights to national parks. In 2018, co-founded Nexus Predictive with Raj and Mia 3 kids who'd all paid their own way through school. We bootstrapped in a garage, cold emailed factory managers, demoed on borrowed laptops, slept on office couches during crunch weeks, celebrated our first $10,000 contract with $1 tacos. Parents never invested. We're still recovering from Ethan's lessons. Round by round, we grew. $8 million, Series A 2021. $35 million, Series B 2023. 120 employees by 2024. Then the call in April 2025. Acquisition offer, $250 million. Close June. My share, $45 million after everything. The news exploded. I stayed silent, but journalists didn't. That's when the phones rang off the hook. Mom's voice cracked with tears I hadn't heard since Grandma's funeral. We always knew you were special. Dad asked about estate planning. Within 10 minutes, Ethan texted, "Congrats, sis." Huge. We need to talk. Dinner was scheduled. I walked into the Cupertino house, same creaky stairs, same lingering smell of sesame oil, and felt like a stranger. They served my childhood favorites: braised pork belly, Taiwanese beef noodle soup, pineapple cakes Mom had baked until 2 a.m. After plates cleared, Dad cleared his throat. Ethan's latest Al Gaming NFT hybrid, was weeks from breakthrough but needed $5 million bridge. They'd already committed another $900,000 they didn't have. Now they needed me to save him, to save them, to finally share the success as a family. Elle listened to every plea, every "you owe us," every "blood is thicker." Then Elle opened my laptop. For 2 hours, I walked them through it all. Every dollar they'd given Ethan, dates, amounts, sacrifices. Every opportunity I'd earned alone. Every missed milestone. Then the trust. $17.2 million by then, compounded, quietly, relentlessly. L'Irrevocable, the scholarship charter. The first 52 recipients, bios, essays, photos. I read 3 essays aloud. A girl from Salinas whose parents were farm workers. A boy from Oakland whose single mom cleaned offices at night. A non-binary student from Fresno who coded on a cracked phone at bus stops. Their words, hope, hunger, gratitude to an anonymous donor filled the living room. Mom sobbed into her hands. Dad stared at the floor, face ashen. Ethan's voice broke. "You did this to spite us?" "No," I said softly. "I did this to become the person you never invested in for someone else." Elle left before dessert, drove to the Stanford Quad at midnight, sat on the same bench where I'd waited alone on graduation day, looked up at the stars barely visible through Bay Area light pollution, and cried not from anger anymore, but from release, from gratitude, from the overwhelming beauty of closure. 6 months later, December 2025, I attended the first Quiet Achiever Scholars Welcome Dinner. Incognito baseball cap, glasses, back table. 52 students, ages 17 to 22, from every corner of California, dressed in their best thrift store finds or borrowed suits. Nervous laughter. Wide eyes. Speeches about dreams once thought impossible. When the MC announced the anonymous founder would not be present, but had sent a letter, my heart stopped. It was read aloud. To the Quiet Achievers of 2025. You are seen. Your late nights in libraries, your skipped meals, your unspoken fears. Someone once lived them too. I'll believe in you because I was you. This is not charity. This is payback to the universe that kept one scared kid going when no one else did. Go build the future, and when you can, pay it forward. With fierce pride, your anonymous ally. The room erupted in applause. I wept silently into my napkin, shoulders shaking. A girl at the next table, Maria from East LA, future aerospace engineer, noticed my tears, and without knowing why, reached over and squeezed my hand. In that moment, with a stranger's kindness bridging decades of loneliness, I finally felt the circle close. The family I was born into chose a different path, but the family I built, this ripple of hope stretching forward, chose me back. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the quiet one anymore. I was whole. I was home.